On the afternoon of April 6, 1945, the largest warship ever built left the inland sea with fuel for a one-way trip. The Yamato's orders were to run herself aground on the coast of Okinawa and fire until her magazines were empty. 9 guns, each barrel about 70 feet long, each shell weighing roughly as much as a small car. She never got close. American carrier aircraft caught her in the East China Sea the following afternoon and put her on the bottom in about 2 hours. Now take the aircraft away. Put a single Arleigh Burke destroyer in the water ahead of her instead, alone, carrying every advantage 80 years of engineering can supply. It sees her first. It outranges her by a factor of 3. It can leave whenever it wants, and it may not be able to sink her. Start with the case for the destroyer. The Yamato carried surface search radar, and by 1945 it was good enough to find a ship somewhere out toward the horizon. The Burke's spy array holds her at over 200 miles, and every firing solution aboard runs off a computer rather than a plotting table and a man with a slide rule. The Yamato made 27 knots at full power. The Burke makes 30 plus, which means the range between them closes or opens entirely at the destroyer's discretion forever. The Yamato carried 162 25mm anti-aircraft guns by 1945, and every one of them was designed to put a wall of fire in front of a diving aircraft. A harpoon crosses the last miles just above the wavetops. The gunners will not see it until it is already inside their minimum engagement range. Then there are the guns themselves. The 18.1-inch main battery could throw a shell somewhere between 22 and 26 miles, depending on which source you trust, and the sources genuinely disagree. Take the highest figure. A harpoon launched from a destroyer's deck reaches out past 67 nautical miles. The Burke can sit 2.5 times beyond the Yamato's maximum range and shoot at her all afternoon, and the Yamato's only available reply is to steam toward the horizon at 27 knots and hope. So, the destroyer wins. Obviously, it wins. Now, let's see the twist here. An older Arleigh Burke carries 8 harpoons in 2 quad launchers bolted to the deck behind the funnels, each with a 488-pound penetrating warhead. The later Flight II-A ships do not carry them at all, because the launchers were deleted years ago to save weight and deck space. So, be generous. Give this destroyer the best anti-ship loadout the class can take today and fill the vertical launch cells with Maritime Strike Tomahawks and LRASM, both of which carry a 1,000-pound warhead, both of which a Burke can fire. There are 90-odd cells aboard. Load 20 of them. The problem is not how much explosive the destroyer can deliver. The problem is where every pound of it lands. Harpoon, Tomahawk, LRASM. All 3 are sea skimmers. They run in low and fast and detonate against the hull side or into the superstructure, at or above the waterline, into a ship carrying 16 inches of hardened steel along her belt and 8 inches over her deck. Here is what it actually took to kill her. 386 aircraft, around 2 hours of continuous attack, 10 bomb hits, and at least 8 torpedoes. And the accounts vary on both counts, with some putting it at 8 bombs and 11 torpedoes. The bombs wrecked what was above the water. The torpedoes let the ocean in. She went down because those hits opened her hull below the waterline over the course of 2 hours, and the flooding eventually rolled her over. Every anti-ship missile in the American inventory was designed for a world where that armor no longer exists. The Harpoon dates from the 1970s and was built against Soviet warships made of thin steel. Nobody has laid down an armored battleship since 1945, so nobody has built a weapon to defeat one. The Yamato is the exact target these weapons stopped being made for. You are in the forward engineering space, deep inside the armored citadel. Something hits the ship. You feel it through the deck plating and the lights flicker. Sometime later, another one. Then another. Nobody in the compartment knows what is hitting them because the ship has never seen a weapon that arrives without an aircraft attached. Water is not coming in. The turbines are still turning. The order to counter flood never arrives because there is nothing to counter flood against. Somewhere far above your head, the superstructure is burning. And down here, the only thing that has changed is that the telephone stopped working an hour ago. So the destroyer fires everything it has, and the Yamato keeps steaming. The 5-inch Mark 45 gun fires a 127mm shell at 20 rounds a minute, and that caliber is worth pausing on. 127 millimeters is exactly the bore of the Yamato's secondary anti-aircraft mounts. The destroyer's main gun is the battleship's flak gun. Against a 16-inch belt, it does nothing. And against the turret faces, which carry 25.5 inches of steel, it does less than nothing. It will chew up antennas, rangefinders, exposed gun crews, and the men serving them, and it will not open one hole below the waterline. The torpedoes are worse. A Mark 54 is a lightweight anti-submarine weapon with a 97-pound warhead, and the Yamato was built with anti-torpedo bulges designed to absorb hits many times that size. The helicopter carries Hellfires meant for patrol boats. The standard missiles can be pointed at a surface target, and their warheads are small because they were built to destroy aircraft. The one weapon that would end this is a heavyweight torpedo running deep, under the belt, into the hull bottom. That is exactly the weapon a destroyer stopped carrying. So why doesn't the Yamato simply win this? 2 reasons, and the first one is the most quietly satisfying fact in this entire matchup. Her guns are almost as badly matched to the destroyer as the destroyers are to her. In October 1944, off Samar, the Yamato fired her main battery at the American destroyer Johnston. The shells went straight through the ship without detonating, because armor-piercing fuses need to strike something substantial enough to trigger them, and a destroyer's hull plating is not substantial. The Yamato was carrying the wrong ammunition for the target in front of her. 80 years later, she still is. The second reason is that she has to hit first, and she can't. The Burke sits outside her range, moves faster than she does, and can see her through weather that leaves the Yamato's optical rangefinders useless. Every hour of this engagement, the destroyer chooses the range, which gives an honest verdict, and it is a stranger one than it looks. The Burke wins the fight and loses the mission. 20 missiles and several hundred 5-inch rounds will systematically destroy the Yamato's radars, her rangefinders, her secondary batteries, her bridge, and a great many of the 3,332 men aboard her. What comes out the other side is a blinded, burning, structurally intact battleship still making 27 knots toward Okinawa with 9 working main guns, and no ability to aim them at anything beyond visual range. The destroyer has no way to finish her. It can follow and keep hurting her and wait for something with a heavier weapon to arrive. And the answer to the problem already existed in April 1945. It was 386 aircraft carrying torpedoes that ran deep, flown from carriers 100 miles away. And the United States Navy worked it out without any help from the future. The lesson every Navy took from the East China Sea that afternoon was that armor stops shells and does not stop what comes from above. And no nation has laid down a battleship since. So which one would you actually send after her? A submarine with heavyweight torpedoes that run under the belt? Or the carrier air wing doing what the Americans already did in 1945, with 80 years of better weapons?